Okay, so the second test is income. And as you'll see in this video, you'll see that it's not tested at all. Most people believe that income is a factor in determining whether or not you can qualify for Medi-Cal. Medi-Cal is not a low-income program unless you are applying for Medi-Cal through Covered California as part of the Obama healthcare reform law. If you're not applying under the healthcare reform law, it is not a low-income program. Why do I say that? Well, I say that because Medi-Cal, as part of the Medicaid system, allows states to pick one of two different ways to qualify for benefits. We have what are called income cap states, and we have what are called share of cost states. And California is not an income cap state. If you were in an income cap state, so let's say that we were in Arizona or Florida or Colorado or any of the other income cap states, and you had 1 penny over the income cap, those states and their programs will say, we will not help you, period, regardless of what resources you have, regardless of what your healthcare expenses are. Here in California, we are not an income cap state, and therefore it is not a low-income program. What income is used to determine is how much you would have to contribute towards the cost of your care. Medi-Cal is part of a share of cost program. So if you have income over a particular amount, depending, and this number changes every year, but if you have your income over that cap, what Medi-Cal would say is that you would have to contribute those excess resources towards your care. Now it's critical to note here that there isn't any type of Medi-Cal police or Medi-Cal cash register that says, give me the money. It rather is a means where Medi-Cal says that you have to pay this amount of money before Medi-Cal will come in and assist you. So you can think about it in many ways as a monthly deductible. So I'll give you a great example of what I mean by that. A few years ago, before we had the healthcare reform law, I had a client of mine who came into the office and he needed assistance, and we qualified him for Medi-Cal, and he was a very high wage earner. He was still employed. His share of costs, so the amount he would have to contribute in any given month towards his healthcare costs to get Medi-Cal coverage, was going to be in excess of $4,000 a month. But in any given month, his healthcare costs were averaging only $500. So what would he pay? So let's say he had benefits in place right now. His share of costs is $4,000. His medical expenses are $500. What does he actually pay for medical services this month? Only $500. He's going to pay his actual costs. Now Medi-Cal isn't going to pay anything at all until he meets the $4,000 threshold, but there isn't anybody there taking the $4,000 away from him. So he's just paying his deductible. So the question becomes, why would someone with that amount of income and healthcare costs that low want to have Medi-Cal in place? Well, the reason why he wanted to have Medi-Cal in place was that he was in the middle of liver failure and was awaiting transplant. And remember, this is pre the healthcare reform law, with no health insurance coverage. So because he was in liver failure, and because pre-existing conditions still counted, he could not qualify for health insurance. And as a result, he could not schedule appointments with doctors to deal with the transplant. And in fact, it only boggles my mind, how much would that transplant actually have cost, when/if his number comes up. In his case, with Medi-Cal in place, what does he do? He pays his $4,000 deductible, and Medi-Cal picks up the rest of the costs. Income does not impact eligibility. A second example I can give you, we have a client of ours who was a widow of a retired Supreme Court judge from the state of New York. She had severe dementia. Her pension was $10,000 a month. She was qualified for Medi-Cal. The reason why she was qualified for Medi-Cal was so that she could pay the facility based upon the Medi-Cal rate schedule. Now in her case, Medi-Cal paid nothing for her care because her share of cost was so high that it displaced what Medi-Cal would pay for the facility. But she paid the facility based upon the Medi-Cal rate schedule, and therefore each and every month she got a discount and had more income to pay for services that she would normally need, as opposed to paying their entire $10,000 to the facility as a private pay patient. She paid something a little bit less than that, and she had more money to bring in what I would call the niceties of life, the things that help to improve the quality of her life. And so she was using Medi-Cal as a means to get a discount. And so again, income does not impact eligibility. Income impacts how much you would have to pay. The more income you have, the more you have to pay before Medi-Cal will help you. The less income, the less you have to pay.